Okay guys, let's take a look at the Raven Trekker in the 39mm case. If you have not heard of Raven watches, you're going to want to check them out. I've done a ton of videos on the previous ones. I don't think I've ever done a video on the Raven Trekker 39mm. I would have remembered it. This guy right here is... it should have your attention. If you like 40, 39, a little bit smaller divers, I think sometimes a diver watch, an automatic one that is, when you get into the smaller size, they become a little unbalanced, maybe like too tall versus the footprint that they take. This one seems to balance it really well. So hopefully I'll be able to show that. And it's definitely a watch that begs to be worn. It is basically fully brushed except for a little bit of polished reveal on each side. Ceramic bezel insert, a boxed and slight domed sapphire crystal. Has a nice weight to it. It has the Miyota 90S5 movement, which is a no date, three-handed time only, and a fully brushed bracelet. Those are things that are going to tell you right away that this watch was meant for exploring and actually using it, which is what the owner of Raven does. He's a very active guy and he wears his watches and uses his knives. He owns, or part owner owns Finch knives, which I have yet to have one on the channel. Maybe I'll pick one up. They're a really cool microbrand knife too. I'll put links to all this down in the description. They didn't send me this. This was sent in by my buddy Homer, who always sends awesome watches in. So big thanks to Homer for doing that. So 39mm case, 48.3 lug to lug drilled lugs. You can see fully brushed, like I said, just that small polished relief side right there, which is going to make it super comfortable on wrist. Not that there would have been a hot spot there anyway because of the case back, but it's still just a nice attention to detail. It is 13.5mm thick. Without that boxed domed sapphire crystal, it would probably be like 11mm thick because those Miyota 90 movements are actually really thin, so you can make a thin watch. 20mm lug width, and this bracelet has a dramatic taper down to 16mm, which is super comfortable on wrist. Fully milled out clasp. This part's kind of like a rolled or stamped or something. 4 micro adjust, no dive extension. We don't need it. You have screw links, so pretty easy to size the bracelet. Just make sure you got some thread lock on there. I have never heard anybody have issue with the Raven bracelets or hardware. The few watches that I've handled, they are very well sorted. He's been making these watches for a long time. So if we take a look at the case back here, these are limited production, which most microbrand are. You can see this is number 61 of 200, 300 meter water resist, Raven Trekker, sapphire, all that good stuff. And if we flip it over, take a look at the dial, you can see fully printed. There are some Raven watches that the logo up there, which is the Raven and the shield, is like a applied logo on some of their other watches, which is very cool. This has like a gloss black dial, looks great. Fully polished handset, super legible, no problems there. And the lume, which I'm assuming the bezel's lume too, we'll check that in a moment. They say it's an X1 blue lume. So I'm guessing the X1 blue lume is kind of like BGW9, but turned up like a bunch. So it's going to look bright white in daylight like this, but then it's going to glow really bright when we turn the lights off to check it. That's what I'm hoping anyway. You can see a nice sharp coin edge on the bezel. It's going to be super easy to turn. And it is 120 click bezel action. The action is crisp. There's no play, zero play, not even like a back play on it. And guess what? It lines up. Wow, what a Marvel idea. Good quality control. Wow, I wish everybody would do that. So the bracelet lays flat on the back. Why do I bring that up? Because on these smaller watches, on all watches, but on these smaller watches, if they're going to land on smaller wrist, this thing is going to balance so good. So I'm going to show you what it looks like on my 7¼ inch wrist, but I wish I had some way to simulate like this would easily work on like a 6½ inch wrist or something, guys. You would this would be a very good option for a dive watch. Unfortunately, I am kind of showing you a watch that is sold out. You're not going to be able to pick them up. When you could buy them, they were $750. So a lot of money, but you got to remember this thing is sorted. It is very well built. There's going to be no issues with it, and it's just, you know, there's no shortcuts or cost cutting or something like that. Like, it was spec'd out really well, and I think there is supposedly like 50 of whatever the limited run was. I think he posted up on his website. You'll have to read it. I didn't fully understand, but I think there's 50 of them with a Swiss movement in it. So I don't know if it was the Solido or the ETA, but I think there's 50 of them with a Swiss movement in it, which would be really cool to find. There's also, I want to try to get my hands on, he made a yellow dial on this. There was a few different dial colors, but the yellow dial one looks super cool. I love that one, so I'd like to see that one. Nice signed crown too. I don't know if I mentioned that. The crown's 6.5 millimeter, and you can see it's kind of spaced out too. You know, just because you might have a smaller wrist doesn't mean you have small little fingers either. So this thing's actually easy to grip too, because it's a little ways away from the case. It's not protected by crown guards or anything, but it's nice to unscrew and easy to wind the movement, and of course to hack it. And I haven't had to backspin this. The threading on the tube is really good, so just thread it right in. Here it is next to a SKX, just for size comparison. You can see it is smaller, and it looks a little bit smaller. It's going to look good on your wrist. All right, let's kill the lights, check the lume. Every Raven I've tried has amazing lume. Yep, amazing lume. So it's kind of like BGW9. It's a little bit different. I don't think I have a BGW9 sitting around here, but it is turned way up, and that's what I love about the micro brands, is they can play around with some crazy formulas for lume that they have access to, and they really, really do a great job. So if you like well-equipped divers for affordable prices with killer lume, that's where there's some solid micro brand watches out there that are gonna, like, they'll make you happy. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you on the next vid.